Oh, ready for it.
Yep.
It's starting to go back the other way, the reservoir.
It's recording.
Ready?
Yeah.
Call to order, the Ione Creek Committee meeting, 4 p.m. for, December, what are we, 8th. First item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, going on, let's do a roll call.
Lisa McCary. Tuck into your mic.
Here.
Donnie McCary
Present.
and Steve Frederick.
Here. And I think we're permanently missing 2 members, right?
Yes, and the good
Okay.
news is we actually got 2 applications.
Okay,
Oh,
We'll probably
talk
deal
about-
with those after the first of the year.
all right.
oh, good.
It is on our agenda, so we'll wait till we get down there. Approval of the agenda. Don, Lisa, one of you guys want to approve it? Approve. Lisa, second
I
it.
second it.
Moving forward. Presentations and announcements, none, unless anybody has some. No, okay. Public comment, we got 2 members. Nope, no public comment. Moving on, regular agenda. We'll get an update on the 2022 creek cleanup. I'll leave this to Mr. Rock.
Well, so the update is that we did hire through CAL FIRE the CYA, and they worked for a couple of weeks, and then we had some excavation.
By
And that-
Jaeger.
Yes, and that went well. And there's some water in the creek right now, and it's holding it well, and there's plenty of room. And we're gonna need it.
I hope
Supposed to
so.
rain pretty hard on Saturday, so I think we're in good shape. And I think that the permit and everything went really well. We got permission from property owners where we needed it to get in this year. And we'll get to the next item where we talk about how we tackle the next year and the areas, and we'll go over the map in just a moment. But yeah, I think we're in very good shape. And I think that based on the forecast that we have, we'll be fine to get through the whole season.
So just to give everybody an update, I've got a lot of people come to me and made comments and a lot of positive, thank you for doing that. I think that was one of our main goals, if not our only goal with this creek committee, was that section of the creek and then beyond, that was our primary goal. And I think we accomplished it. We met the conditions within the stream alteration agreement. The one thing, and I don't think it's a negative, but I heard that the Ione Band of Miwok Indians, next time we do some work, would like to be consulted prior to any activity. They were concerned about some possible grinding rocks in the area.
Okay.
They're being very kind of close chest about it, or close to their chest about it, because they don't want to promote it. But I think maybe next time we just reach out to them, and I don't think they're not. I don't think their motive is to stop us doing activity. They just wanted to give us a heads up, or the contractor a heads up, if there was a spot that they felt was sensitive. But that's the only thing. I don't think, we did it in front of the Fish and Wildlife Service and the game warden that drove over the bridge every day. So I'm guessing
Yeah,
we accomplished it without any.
exactly. And the same with us. We've heard a lot of really good things about it, and we didn't want to go in and just start digging away and do whatever. We did abide by the guidelines.
Mhm.
So, and that was a process and we got it done. So, we should feel good about that. The community does. And now for the next phase is down the other way. So, and we were wondering too, or at least I was, does the Corps of Engineer, do we need to do anything with the Army Corps of Engineers for that, or?
I'm not sure. Rock, have you kind of been brought up to speed? The Corps, what we found, built the levees, but then just kind of after that, kind of left it up to the city to maintain. We reached out to the Corps about whose responsibility it was to maintain them. Really never found a clear who it is, what it is. But my big concern with the levees itself, say for example, down by the grocery store, if a gopher was to dig a hole through it, just as simple as that, it could compromise that levee. And is that really the responsibility of, say, the owner of the grocery store because it's his property? And we're talking a simple thing as a gopher hole, but it could seriously compromise the whole levee system. And in the event of a big flood. In 17, I have pictures, we were only about 6 inches from going over that levee, so it can happen. It's not the if, it's when. So we just want to make sure that, those levees are maintained and maybe we can ask you as the manager, now, what is the goal of the city now? Are you going to try to attempt to clean it every year, with CAL FIRE, or is this going to be like a 5-year process, or do we have to, recommend or request money from the city budget to try to keep this as because I think in the past it was almost like an annual or every 5-year kind of process, and we want to make sure we don't slip off of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we do need funding. There's no actual identified funding, so I will have to ask the council for that in the next budget cycle. So and if we can get money in next year's budget, then we could do this plan that we're going to be recommending right now. And then I think we just evaluate each year to see if we need to do it every year. And maybe not every single year, but certainly not waiting 10 or 20 years in between each time. I think it's just a question of managing it and then coming up with a plan that we would just repeat over and over, right? So you do certain sections and then you go back to those sections after a certain period of time. And then once you get that pattern down, it's pretty simple it would be essentially the same stream bed alteration permit over and over once you identify the sections, and then how often you go back to that section and redo it basically. And I think if we can get on that schedule, then and the other thing about that is then we'll know how much it costs on a ongoing basis. And right now we don't exactly know that, but I think we have a fairly good idea of what it's going to take. This is a pretty long section that we're recommending.
That might take more than a year.
It might. And so what we need to do is cost that out. We can talk to CYA about that, have them review the map, and then figure out, first of all, how long is it going to take them to do it and how much would that cost? And we can get money out of the city budget. I'm confident of that, as long as the council's okay with that. And we'll ask them that question during the budget process. I think we can eke out $30,000 a year or 40 from the city budget.
More than enough to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have enough funds, and I think it's certainly something that is a good use of public funds as opposed to flooding part of the city. I mean, I think it's a pretty easy discussion. So I'm confident about that part of it. I would just have to talk to CYA and see on the time, how long would it take them to, and even if it takes 2 years to do that section, that's okay. We keep plugging away. If we plug away every year, we won't get ourselves into a massive flood situation. Now, the levees, in my experience, levees have never been the responsibility of individual property owners. They've always been maintained by either the Corps or some other public entity. Usually it is the Corps of Engineers. So I can find out. I need to do some research on that. We have asked the Corps and they just kind of don't say anything. And this is kind of
early on in this committee. Stacy and I were the ones that actually reached out to the Corps. They found little information that they built them, and I think it was like in the 1950s. And really, there hasn't been much record of that since. And we're not sure. If there is a problem, I'm sure you're going to find out real quick who owns them.
Well, but that,
to
so
fix them, but
what's supposed to happen with all levies in the United States actually is there's supposed to be inspections.
mhm.
And those inspections then would trigger either maintenance or whatever those inspections, resulted in. And my gut feeling is no one's inspected them
Not from our research.
for a long time, and that's not okay. They have to be inspected. So we need to look into that right away and figure out, who's going to inspect them. And, I can cut through some of the bureaucracy, hopefully, and, the finger pointing isn't going to get anything done. We just need to know who's going to inspect them. And it really should be the Corps. They're the experts with levies in the state of California. Everywhere I've worked, they've always been the agency that did the inspections and the maintenance.
Yeah,
So
this
well,
was kind of between the transition of you and Hankin, and we did meet with the Water Resources Control Board,
mhm.
and we consulted, they actually came out and with Stacy and I attended on site, and they gave us some recommendations about how to do some levy management. But they didn't really feel that it was their responsibility for the levies either. So I think all the fingers are going back to the Army Corps. When we consulted with the Army Corps, they just didn't really have a lot of information besides that they built them. So anyway, it's something that we definitely, maybe one of our goals for the next year. This isn't high priority, but just kind of figure out the ownership of it. And I think it is a good idea, just from this side, just recommend to do it every 4 to 5 years. Let's not let it get out of hand, because it gets too expensive to fix once you let it go.
And it is.
And I think it is a real positive thing for the community. Like I said, I can't tell you how many people have seen me and said, wow, that creek is awesome. So if anything, it's good publicity. Everybody can see it.
It was great. We went over there to check it out after the storm, and I really just got the greatest feeling going around the corner and seeing that. I was like,
Yeah, it was pretty out of hand the last few years. So anyway, I think that was a good update. Kind of get some good direction for next year. Let's move down to number 2, revisions on the stream alteration agreement. Now this one's I wouldn't say complicated, but this was also kind of, we started the process between you're taking your position. So I think I know Lisa was the one that filled out the stream alteration agreement with the help of Janice last time. I don't know if that's the correct thing to do to move forward. Now that we have a stable manager, is it time to, is this a staff thing with the city of Ione, or do you still want the committee to be a part of it?
Well, I mean, the committee's a part of it in that we have to bring it to you and ask for your recommendation to approve it. We have to fill out the amendment, whatever the amendment is to the original agreement. We have to then give them this map
Mhm.
or a map saying where we want to do it. We have to pay them. There's a permitting fee.
$625.
Yeah, and then staff can do all of that. That's not a problem for staff. And it would still come to the Creek Committee to approve it, because we want to make sure that you're aware and that you agree this is what we're going to do. And then it has to go to the city council anyway in order to get the money to do it. And we can do that in the budget process. And then I think the timing is okay. The budget will be adopted in June, and the work can commence right after that in the summer, and we can get it done before it rains again, if it rains in California. But
It will
finally,
this year.
finally it is. So all of that could be in place so that people could, CYA or whoever could start in July of next year if the budget's approved in June. So we should be fine in terms of the timeline. We're happy to take care of it. We have to pay the fee anyway, and I actually have to sign, a staff person has to sign the document. So that's fine. I mean,
so
and we can still bring it to the committee though.
I've already filled out the amendment. It's all ready to go. I just need the check.
Good.
Yeah, and the map. That's all that we're waiting on is, yeah.
Right.
So
The check?
No, we were waiting for the meeting, I guess.
Right, we wanted to talk about it.
So do you want, It sounds like you like the responsibility of the stream alteration.
Yes.
Well,
It sounds like it.
no, I take
I-
ownership, not, but
Yeah, you started,
I-
it. You wanted to see the ball.
I
roll
wanted
in
to see the
bottom.
amendment go through.
Yes, yes.
And then also, one more thing before I forget, we got to make sure that we get it on their calendar of the CY or
Cal
the
Fire.
CAL FIRE.
Yes,
Yes, because they got really booked and we didn't make a very good impression on them this last time because we,
The yo-yo.
yeah, and they weren't happy. So if we get to them in the very beginning, and he's real, Doug Boy,
Yeah.
he's really a nice guy, but he wasn't real happy because we changed the plans. So if we get right on top of it
Be a little
and
more
get it set
organized.
up.
well, we can give them a little more notice. What happened was, is they ran into a whole bunch of statewide fires, so they were just miserable anyway. It
Yeah.
had not as much to do with us as it had to do with the fact that they had a lot of fires that
Yeah.
took them out of their normal maintenance routine. But we can give them more notice than we did this year. Yes, you're right, we can.
So Lisa, can I kind of bring this together with, if you've got can you work with Rock or maybe come down one day and
I just
Show
need
where
to
you're at.
see, I need to see it and sign it and have the check and send it to them and
I'm
but
comfortable
yeah.
between you two if you
Yeah.
think the.
you can do it
alteration
as a
agreement-
team effort.
We've
It's,
been,
yeah.
we've been texting back and forth.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's fine.
We've
And
been emailing.
So what's our goal on that? Maybe by the end of the year or first, like January? You think? Or
Yeah,
If
it's
you
really
have.
yeah, it's ready. I need to review it and sign it and then we'll have the checks
You have to take
submitted.
that to the board,
No,
kind of do it in-house as a staff.
well, the city council will see it in order to fund it. So they'll see it anyway, and like when we do the draft budget in April.
Do they have to see to fund the $625 application fee?
No, that's been budgeted. The
Okay.
council already approved that in the budget process.
They just need to
Yeah.
fund whatever.
If,
Cal Fire and
yeah, well, they need to
whatever
fund
maintenance we
the
decide to do.
cleanup costs, so we would bring it to them anyway in the draft budget. They'll see that in May for sure.
So my only question with the stream alteration agreement, how long is it for?
Well, it's just, all we are
Was it like
doing,
4 years,
it was for 5 years.
5 years?
There's still another 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
Re-
when we're making the amendment, we're not asking for a time extension.
No, and we could, which would cost more money,
Oh.
but
It's, what I'm trying to get at is if it's $625 to amend the agreement, can we ask for an additional year or two on top of the agreement with the $625?
no, it's extra.
oh, no, the state's way too greedy for that.
Yeah, but I just wanted to
Trying
get
to kill
that.
two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I agree.
I think by next year, we might want to ask for an extension. I would
Yeah, it's more
recommend that.
involved. This way,
Yeah.
this amendment was very easy.
Yeah, the
to
amendments
go
are,
through What we
yeah.
did for the. First time.
And do we still have Ian? I think he moved on, right? Ian moved on,
He's gone
but
and
you
then.
have another
yes.
contact? And he's good?
Yeah, and it's a she,
Oh, she?
well, I have to look it up,
Okay, well,
but,
it's good to have good communication.
yeah, I don't know if it, I can't, I've communicated with the person on email
Okay,
and I've talked to a lady down at Fish and Wildlife, is really nice. She's very helpful. And we were gonna get it through but we need to get the check. I already told them about, we have to get them the check and then they will finish the process.
okay.
They won't do it and then give them the check.
no, they won't.
Okay, is there any questions or comments from the public?
Gary Thomas, 125 Maple Street. I guess you're on number 2. Sorry, I got here late.
Yeah.
Meetings and taxes and all. The stream bed alteration agreement, how far is that gonna go?
Okay, you missed the intro, but
I did.
Rock has a map there, maybe he could share, but basically when we applied for the stream alteration agreement a year or so ago, it was only from, say, the Dairy Hole area to the bridge. That was our main focus. Now we're asking for an extension from the bridge all the way down to the sewer plant as an amendment to the stream alteration
How
agreement.
about from the dairy hole up?
I don't think he included that. And where does the city jurisdiction? Do we have?
It's in the sphere of the city if it's not in the city. And I think the city really.
So I'll have to admit, I haven't walked up the creek to see how far the work was done.
It
What-
stops at basically the dairy hole for.
Right.
For the
That's right.
gravel and everything,
Yeah.
but they did a really good job on removing the brush up there, but again. If you go up the creek towards my house, I admit I live there. And Josie's is right behind me, Josie's place. They're probably in a floodplain, I would think. Anyway, there's a lot of gravel in that bar, and that gravel there is next year's gravel down here. And there's a good place to grab that gravel and throw it over to the side, so I think there was an opportunity lost where they had a chance to get a lot of the gravel over there onto the Amador Ranch side or something on the north side of Sutter Creek right there for about 100 yards probably is all. So there's a real good opportunity to get a lot of that gravel up over there where there's a place to put it on the bank instead of waiting for it to get downstream where there's getting to be less and less places to put it. So that's my comment, but it's in the city limits and I believe the sphere of influence, and it's nice that the city they did a really good job. My hat goes off to whoever lined all that up or anything, whoever wants to take credit for it, go ahead, but I
Well, if
think,
Stacy was here, I'm sure he would, so we'll give him.
Well, the CYA deserves a lot of credit. They actually did the work, so.
and they did, and they did a good job.
Yeah.
They were doing the work and I ran into them at an opportune time with her neighbors across the street and her other neighbors across the street, Jim and then the other characters on the end. And we came down here and talked and they said, yeah, they run into a bee's nest or something. And
Yeah,
I guess Todd sicked them on to going up our way, but since that's in the city limits, it seems to me like the city has a responsibility to maintain that at some sort of, so.
well, so just for the record, what we're recommending for this upcoming, which would be next year, is to clean the creek between Violet Lane and 5 Mile Bridge, which is a long stretch. And we may not get it all done in 1 year. We'll figure that out by the next creek committee meeting. But that's the recommendation, and I'm gonna ask the council to fund that as well. So that we have a source of funding, because right now we really don't.
A lot of people up my way are getting canceled. My Main Street house over here got canceled because of high fire. So a lot of the houses are getting canceled or non-renewals, not canceled,
Because of the vegetation?
because we're next to some nut, is that the right job? Word behind the computer designated us as a wildfire.
Interface, high risk, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
there's some dwellings like
But
that.
my house on
right?
Main Street is
Right.
about 800 feet past some other people's houses, and I just wonder what's gonna be happening. My own insurance agent got her house canceled and she's over by the Red Brick Church over this way, a block,
Yeah.
so.
So Gary, do you think if they did more vegetation management, you would be removed from that
I
wildland?
think we'd still be in the wildfire risk area, but I believe that it would be good for the whole side of Ione. I mean, my house is up 2 blocks on Main Street by a rental house. And it's got a non-renewal because of that, so you're gonna start seeing everybody else talking about it.
Well, where I'm going with this is I'm trying to ask the question, if they did some work up there, what if? I know there was a budget issue this year where Rock kind of pulled some money out of his hat to pay Lou to
Yeah.
do the work that he did. So if money wasn't an object, or what could have been done better up there?
Just getting the gravel out. They did a really good job this year. I took pictures, sent them to my insurance agent, and they were like, oh, that's great, let's pass them on, so. But
We would like to do that. With the gravel, like you said.
yeah,
I would have liked to have gone up there. It's just the way it worked out. So I think the next time when it's getting close, when we get the tractors in there, maybe we can get that taken care of too.
yeah,
Maybe add it to it. Does
It's-
Lundgren's Pond need to be dug out too, by the way?
no,
So the other issue that we have, and this is the stream
but dig
alteration.
it out though, please, I'm for it.
The stream alteration agreement for us to kind of quickly get it through and have it bought off with a Fish and Game was we couldn't remove any rock from the stream bed itself. So the agreement we had, and you could see it down here by above the bridge, is we
Yeah, I
had to
did.
push it all up on the banks.
Yeah,
Well, I think they dug the dairy hole out and pushed the rock up there. The material that you're talking about could come down and fill the dairy hole up. Eventually, we're gonna have to talk to Fish and Wildlife about actually removing the rock, which I think is gonna be another amendment to the agreement out of the stream bed. Because eventually it's just gonna keep piling up, and pretty soon you'll have a narrow creek with all this rock on the banks that,
if you go up by my house, that creek is twice as wide as it is here.
yeah.
Just, there's an island in the middle and so forth, and it'd be a good opportunity to take that rock where it's a short haul and put it over on that other side bank, because that bank really is it a bank or is it that the edge of the creek? Because quite a few years in the 30 years I've been there, it's gone underwater, so. Anyway. Thank you, L, D, and S.
No problem, GT.
At least he didn't say LSD.
I think the creek did a really good a job and they should have went up there and cleaned it up. That the thing, I think we got some problems over on some other ditches too, that we ought to take care of out of Wildflower. Where it comes out and goes out across the field to the south down there. Used to be the boarding place.
Behind the elementary school.
Yeah. That ought to be taken care of, and I don't know, being somebody's in charge, it got some pull out there, we might be able to go by the railroad track and deepen that ditch that used to go down next to the railroad track where the creek used to run 1,000 years ago. I just thinking, because that's one of the flood outlets. And
Where's the railroad track that you're speaking of, out by Wildflower?
no, the one that goes south out towards
The depot?
yeah, it goes towards Cook's deal out there. You take, that ditch runs out there and it just kind of, the city made it real deep when they built that new subdivision there.
Mm.
But then it just kind of flattens out, goes nowhere. There is a little ditch next to the railroad track, but they used to try and keep that. Who the heck's pond's that? I can't think of his name. Had the pond out there, everybody went frogging in. The dairy,
No,
the old dairy.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Thomas, yeah, there was a dairy out there at one time. Well, that road, you could still take it. It's open. You can drive through there. You just can't, they got it blocked off over there where they go. But it ought to be something, we ought to look at the future, because that's an outlet for the flood. And we ought to keep a real eye up there, Wildflower, because I don't think can handle all the water when it floods. That's gonna flood all of Marlette, and that's what happened in, was it 96? It flooded, there was 3 feet of water on Marlette down there. That's a lot of water. There's, as you know, probably your parents' house got flooded though.
Many times.
Thank you. I'd say it's one problem. Oh, the other thing is, we kind of ought to look at the market drain. I really think it needs to put a 90 on that street. Because every time it rains hard, it almost goes in the market. And I believe all we need to do is put like a 90 degree on where the inlet is, come out 90 degrees, put a 2 foot, tilt it about 15 degrees and create a siphon, suck it out of there.
Gotcha.
It's just something to look at. I don't think it costs that much. It might do it, save a lot of damage on a building.
We've got that.
Whereabouts is that market drain? Just down from the
It's
bridge?
just below the
From the walking
footbridge.
The walking bridge, right?
Yeah, it's just below the footbridge and it's kind of low down there. It's kind of covered up. You can't see it. If I remember right, I could be wrong, but been a while since I've been down there. But I thought of that because that's come awful close to going into the market. And that will cost a lot of money in refrigeration units. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we kind of wrapped up the revisions of the stream alteration agreement. Have some goals, timelines there. Lisa, work with Rock and get that thing moving.
Yep.
Item number 3, update on current vacancies for the committee. So we've lost two members.
We've lost two members and we advertised. And the closing date was November 30th,
Okay.
and we actually got two applicants.
Okay, so there's some questions that I have about this. When we reformed the Creek Committee, which I think there was about a 15-year span that the Creek Committee didn't exist. It was again kind of in the internship of Hankin and the managers. I'm not sure who's responsible to appoint these. Is it our responsibility to find our committee members?
No, the
or-
council will do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's their committee. It's their appointed committee.
okay, so we don't have to do any work,
We
so,
don't have to Do any work, and actually, it's the mayor that will appoint the committee members. He'll actually interview them and make his recommendations to the council, and they'll confirm.
so all we need to know is that we have two candidates and we might have two
Right.
new members. Okay.
And one thing, do you have to live in city limits? Is there anything like that or? it could
Yeah.
be- You do, okay.
So we'll probably get two members, what, next year sometime?
Well, it probably the January 17th council meeting.
Yeah.
It's when they'll make all the appointments.
As
Yes,
soon as we get a new mayor,
right.
they'll do the interviews, and we'll make a recommendation.
Do you need us as part of the interview process or?
Usually not, usually just the
Okay.
mayor interview. That's the way it's been done with Park and Rec.
Okay.
planning.
'Cause they don't know what the dairy hole is, they may not get a vote from me. Or Lundgren's Pond.
This is true.
Okay, then we'll just sit and wait and see if we have some new
Yeah, we'll
members.
definitely have one. I don't know before your next meeting, which will be the second Thursday in January, but definitely by February.
Okay, is there anything that you think we need to put on an agenda for in January?
Not sure, if we submit the amendment and assuming it's approved. I don't think we'd have much to talk about until, maybe March. And we could talk about what we're gonna recommend to the city council for funding. And exactly which parts we could do. Because so we just need to figure out whether we can do this whole section from 5 Mile to Violet Lane. Or do we need to cut that into two pieces? I'll know that better when I talk to CYA and then put together the budget. So we could probably talk about that in March with the Creek Committee, and by then we would have your new members available.
I really don't see a lot of, besides updates, and I hope that you could pass the word to maybe the Public Works about the concerns that were brought up today with the wildflower drain, and maybe they can go out there and see what the problem is, or.
We,
Good
that's
thing.
come up before, the wildflower drain. We need to talk to the developer about that too. We do need to deal with that. That's come up a couple times in the last few weeks. So yes, we do need to deal with that. And I will try to get either the Army Corps or some engineer who's qualified to do an inspection, because when's the last time the levee was inspected?
Well, we
Nobody
have
even
a former
knows.
Creek Committee member here. Mr. Thomas, do you know anything about the Army Corps and?
No, all
There-
I know is they do the floodplain, every 10 years or so.
We're talking about our levy.
I know, but Army Corps does the firm map, I believe, for the floodplain. I don't know why they couldn't look at the levee or something as well. The Army Corps, what I understand, used to take care of it back years ago. When they did that, was that the Army Corps, Larry?
Well, I wasn't here, but I think in 64 they built it. I think it was after the flood of 64. And it's, yeah, but there was nothing, I don't remember any. So-
Well, we'll get someone
Get an
to.
Inspection.
We really do, and that concerns me because we don't know what we have.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so, yeah, where I was headed with those questions was, I'm kind of thinking we might not need to reconvene in January. If we don't even have committee members,
Okay,
unless it
March?
really upsets the public that we cancel a meeting. Maybe. I think it would just be updates at the next meeting, so let's focus on, what would it be, February?
February.
Yeah,
At
Okay,
least introduce the new.
yeah, we can get the committee
Get
members.
them
and-
up to date on what's going
well,
on.
that's 2 months. Yeah, I think by then we'll have some more information too.
Okay, so that's where I'm headed. We'll reconvene in February. We'll have our new members. And hopefully between now and then, I'm sure that the stream alteration agreement will be
Yeah.
sent off and ready to go. Okay, any other public comments? I'll let you guys up there one more time if you want. No?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to bring up, the culvert pipe here in Clay Street and
Mhm.
Ione Street, they never did dig that out, I don't think. I think there's 2 pipes there, I'm not certain. Stacy was supposed to get the scene or Adarata down here. Like, he thinks there's one down below, and I don't know where that is.
Copy.
As these cities keep on building, not so much Ione, but say Sutter Creek and up above and everything else, and they're putting in asphalt and parking lots, all that water is eventually getting to the creek. And it's impacting Ione, so I just wonder, what do we do about? It's gonna get worse and worse over the years. So.
Sheet flows. It all comes to us quick.
Actually, that's in your Annex B, if you read the Annex B for the city of Ione, it's written in there, the county should have been, had a fee for that, and then help them pay for that. It's written right in.
That's what John Hankton was aiming at, I believe he told me one time, is getting the county to participate in some sort of help get the creek cleaned out. It's what he told me off
Well,
the sidewalk.
with all the research I did, and I spoke with Amador County supervisors, we came to the determination that the city of Ione was responsible for the creek within our. Now, when it goes up there, they are, but we don't have anything to do with that.
Well, their building impacts us, so.
It does,
Yes.
but
They do have a stream bed alteration permit. The county does, so they must be doing some work. I don't know exactly where.
I think they just do vegetation management.
Is that
because,
right?
You know, rocks roll downhill and we're getting all their gravel and rocks. I think that was the issue.
No, but they're supposed to be the county, anytime you give an ag deal, they'll tell you how much water is penetrated in such ground.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a book.
Yeah, yeah.
And matter of fact, Caltrans will tell you, if you line a ditch, you lose a whole bunch of water, it goes like.
Yeah,
timber.
saturate. Mm-hmm.
If you lose that, and if the runoff is, like he says, increased, the more asphalt they put in, the more water goes down the creek.
So the comment you made about, of this, was it letter or agreement?
It's Annex B, get on this county website, Annex B, City of Ione. I sent it to you guys.
I printed it out and
It's
it's
very interesting. It's long.
80 pages or something.
80 pages.
Can you give me a synopsis of what that is? Is it,
The
what's
part of the General plan?
is it general plan? Oh, okay, it's part of the general plan.
For
It's,
Annex
no,
B,
it's
what-
supposed to be in the general plan, but it hasn't been. Somehow it never got in there.
What
It was a-
Annex
what-
B?
Yes, this was done by the Army, by the federal government in 2017.
It's a federal document?
Yes, it's a federal document.
Okay.
It's just, actually, counties now, but. This is the county or the state.
Yeah, you understand, okay. I'll look into it, but I'm just kind of confused right now. Okay. So the Annex B, City of Ione of 2017, well, we got to do some research. Get familiar with it. Okay. Well, I think we are done. Adjourned
I second.
at,
I third it.
do you guys do a minute, you call off the minute that we adjourned or what,
Yeah.
39?
Yeah, the quick.
All right, she got it.
Hey, Mike, I like your LSD better.
Might want
It's
to
in the
leave
right
that out of the
order, too.
recording.
Mine skipped around.
You're fine. There's no conflict. of interest.
When they're talking about.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead. and apply.
Okay.
Here.
I also want to.
How you doing, man?
Was that in that? No,
No, it-
I goes by what my mother calls.
We posted online.
Yeah.
And then also, and I'll talk to you about, I don't even need the check, I just need the number and the number of the check, and I can give it to her and then,
Oh, that's the FEMA deal.
and they'll send it and then it gets all signed and everything.
Did you send me the?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly what it said. County's supposed to be paying.
I have to sign it.
Yeah, I'll have to
Right
read
at the end, but right now, all I need to do is to send the check.
Right in there.
Yeah, they'll send it back and they sign it and all. that.
Okay, okay.
They just wanted you.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-